In the 9618 paper 4 exam, many students don't lose marks because they don't understand programming. They lose marks because they forget the basic Python functions that they are expected to use again and again. So in this video, I'm going to show you the 8 must-know Python functions for the Cambridge International AS and A-Level Computer Science 9618 paper 4 exam. For each one, I will show you what it does, when to use it, and how it appears in the exam style questions. By the end of this video, you will have a better understanding of the most useful Python functions for your paper 4 practical exam. Let's start with the first one. For the first function, ask the user to enter a whole number between 1 and 100. No validation check is required. Convert the input into an integer and store it in a variable. Then output the integer. So for this question here, we are taking one input and then we have to convert this input into an integer and finally print out the variable. And now let me show you the step by step here. So first of all, let me just close this here and let me just do the code right now here. So for example, we need to get the input here. So how do you get the input? It's pretty simple here. I can just say something like input number. Then I can just say input. Then I can just write anything that I want here. I can just say please enter a number between 1 and 100. Of course, for this use case here, we don't have to do any validation check. We are assuming that the user will definitely type anything between 1 and 100 here. And next, I can just do a print statement here, just to check whether it's working as expected here. Let me just click on run here. So between 1 and 100, I can just put like, let's say 50 here, doesn't matter here. And right now it's printing 50 here. But right now, what happened here is that this here, when we do input here, it always take in as a string here. So how do I know whether it's a string here? It's pretty simple. I can just do something like this here. I can just, let me just add type and then input number here. And let me just click on run again here. Look at this here, 50 here. And this is a class string here. We don't want to store this as a string since this is an integer variable here. So what can I do here is that I have to convert this into an integer here. So there are a few methods that I can do here. So first of all, I can just say input number, I don't know, in integer. And then I can just put integer and then input number here. And then if I print the type now, it will show it as an integer here. So if I just do print, and let me just convert, let me just copy this and then type, and then let me just do it here. And then if I run this again, look at this here, 50. Right now, look at this here. It was class string here, and now it has been converted to class integer here. Of course, this is a bit long here. Normally, in the typical exam scenario, this is what we will do here. We will just put here, integer, and then bracket here. And then let me just remove all this here. And then let me just print input number here. So by right, when we run this second line here, it should print an integer here. So let me just run this code again here. And then 50 here. Look at this here. Right now, this is class integer. And then we have printed out this variable 50 here. Therefore, for the first function here, it's definitely this integer function here. We always cast the input from string to integer, and then we'll use this variable throughout our exam code here. For the second function here, create an integer variable called myscore and assign it the value 90. Output my total score is 90, so this is pretty straightforward. First of all, we have to create an integer variable called myscore here, and then we assign value of 90 here, and then we do a print statement here. And then let's look at what the function that I want to emphasize for this tutorial here. So first of all, I can just write my score is equal to 90 here, and then I can just do a print statement. I can just print my total score is comma my score here. So take note that if we use this type of print statement here, we don't have to put a space here, because when I put this variable here, it will auto add a space here. So let me just go on run here. So again, this my total score is 90 here. So right now we are doing exactly what the code wants. Of course, definitely in your exam itself here, sometimes they don't use this method here. They use string concatenation here. And let me just show you here. So for example, let me just click on this hash here. And I can just say print my total score is, and then I can just say plus my score here. And then let me just click on run here. And right now, if you look at this, we have some error here. Can only concatenate string, not integer to string. Meaning that right now, what happened here is that this, my score here, it is integer variable here because we assign this 90 as the variable here. Therefore, when we try to do this string concatenation here, it's not working as expected here. So what could I do here? I could just do something like this here. So let me just click on this. I have to convert this into a string here. So string. That's it. So this should work now. So let me just click on run here. And looking at this now, my total score is 90 here. And then definitely I make this mistake on purpose here. I just want to show you that the difference between this statement and this statement here. So when we do string concatenation here, we have to leave a space here. Because string concatenation is working as what you wrote into this statement here. So I have to put like my total score is space and then plus string my score here. So if I just run this again here, look at this here. So my total score is 90 here. Therefore, the second function that I want to emphasize here is the string function here. Because throughout your exam, sometimes they always give you integer variable and you have to convert to string when we do a lot of string manipulation here. Therefore, just remember that we use this string to convert integer variable into string variable here. For the third function here, create an array that contains a value 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30. Write a loop that to print all the items in the array, assume you do not know the size of the array. So what I could do here is that I can just create an array first. So I can just say my array is equal to 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30. Of course, for this example here, since we created the array ourselves, we definitely know the size of this array here, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the size of this array is 6 here. But of course, this question here, we say that we assume we don't know the size of the array beforehand. Just imagine that this array here, let's say it was given by the question or whatsoever here. So, and then right now, I have to print every single item in this array here, which is pretty easy here. I can just do a for loop here. We can just for index in range, let's start from 0 here. And then since, let's say, we know the size of the array here, we can just put 6 here. Because we will run like index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to run all the 6 elements here. But of course, for this question here, we assume that we do not know the size of the array. So what we do here is we can just put length and my array here. So when I run length my array here, so right now what happened is that this built-in function here, it will calculate what is the size of this array here. So we have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 here. And then I can just put print and then my array index. That's it. And now let me just run the code here. So looking at this right now, this is working as expected here. We are printing all the elements in the array using this length function here, assuming that we do not know the size of the array. So this is very useful here. In general for the exam, I don't recommend my students to do hard coding for this range here. Always use all this length whenever possible, because when you use length, it's very hard for you to make a mistake here. We are actually printing all the elements inside the array based on the length or the size of the array itself here. For the fourth function here, create an empty array called animals. Add the animals name, lion, tiger, and bear to the array. So this is just inserting value into an existing array here. So first of all, I can just put animals is equal to an empty array. Of course, this is what is required by the question here. Later, I'll show you one more method here, of course. And now, I have to add all these elements one by one here. So typically for exam purpose here, we always use this function here, which is append here. So I can just put enter here animals dot append, and I will be putting like lion here, and let me just copy this here. And then paste here, and then let me just put tiger and bear here. And definitely to check our code here, I can just put print animals here, and it should work here. So let me just click on run here. Looking at this here, we have like lion, tiger, and bear. So right now we have created this array here. So for this question here, I want to emphasize this append keyword here. So definitely sometimes in the exam, they will ask you to append some value into an existing array. Or sometimes they ask you to create one empty array and then do appending all these elements into the array here. Of course, for this question here, actually, you could do something like this here. Let's say if you don't use append here. Let me just comment all this out here. And then I can just put like animals equal to, and then I can just put lion, tiger, and bear here. And then if I just click on print here, it should work the same here. And let me just click on run here. Looking at this here, we have like lion, tiger, and bear here in this animals array here. Of course, for this question here, as I say, I want to emphasize this append keyword here. For the fifth function here, read all lines from my data.txt and store each line as a separate element in an array. Remove the invisible new line character at the end of each line here. So what this question one is, we have one text file here. We will read all this file line by line here. And then finally, we will combine all these elements into one single array here. And now let me just show you the actual file itself so that you can understand better here. So if I just click on this folder here, I have uploaded the file beforehand here. So if I just go to this my data.txt here, if I just open this here, so right now, this is the file here. My official website is www.haguin.school here. So this is the mydata.txt here. And for this question here, it says that remove the invisible new line character at the end of each line here. Meaning that we assume that when we type my here, somehow the user, they will click on enter here and then click on official and then enter website. So meaning that here, it should have a /n here, but doesn't matter here. Let me just show you what we could do here. So let me just close it here and then let me just go back to my start slideshow here. I will create one empty array first. So I can just put like data array is equal to empty array. Since later on, I have to put all the elements into this array here. And then for file reading, typically we always have a same format. We have like a try first. And then somehow later on, I have an accept here and then I can just say print file not found. Okay, I just put make it more explicit. My data.txt not found here. So this is a typical process here. And then here inside here, I can just say my file is equal to open and then my data.txt and then the mode will be read mode here. And then of course later on, I have to close the file as well here. So definitely, typically for file handling here, these are the code that I have to write first so that you can score like the marks required here when it comes to file handling here. And now inside this blank space here, I will do my operation here. So how do you read this file here? So first of all, I can just say for line in my file here. Meaning that right now here, I'm reading the line in the file line by line here. And then I can just put like data array dot append line here. And then it should work here. And then of course, once I'm done with that, I can just put print data array here. And now let's look at what happened here when I run this code here. So if I just click on shift enter here, look at this here. My official website is www.haguin.school. Of course, this is working as expected. But if you look at string here, we have this /n here. So remember what I told you here for the file here. What happened here is that when they type like my, they click on enter and they click on official and then enter website and so on here. So right now I have to remove this /n here. And how do I remove this /n here? It's pretty simple here. I can just put here line dot strip here. So what this strip does here is that it will remove the space at the front as well as at the back here, meaning that it will remove all this /n here. And right now, if I run the code again here, let me just remove this as well here, and let me just go on shift enter here. Look at this here. This is working as expected here. Right now we have like my official website is www.haguin.school, which is working as expected here. So definitely for this tutorial here, the keyword or the function that I want to emphasize here is the strip here. Because for exam here, we always have to read file. For every single exam, we have to read file here. And normally students, they tend to forget write this strip here. Of course, also it depends on the text file. Sometimes the text file might not contain a /n, but just on the safe side, to be safe here, we always write .strip here to remove all the unnecessary space here so that it won't show /n in our array here. For Python function 6, let's look at this here. A file called studentinfo.txt contains a name and an age on each line. Store the names as string in an array called name. Store the age as integer in another array called age. So imagine that we have a text file, and the text file, each line, it will contain a name, comma, age here. And definitely looking at this, it might sound a bit confusing here. So therefore, let me just show you the exact file here. So this is the studentinfo.txt here. We have 3 lines here. We have like Tom, 16, Jerry, 17, and Jane, 18 here. So definitely for exam purpose, every time when it comes to text file, make sure that you open the text file and look at the content first before start writing the code here. So for this question here, this is the content here. We have like 1 line, 2 line, 3 line here, the name, age, name, age, name, age here. And so this question, what it does is that it wants us to store like Tom, Jerry, and Jane into name array. And then 16, 17, 18 into age array. And now let's look at how we can do this first. So let me just close this first, and let me just go back to the slideshow mode here. And now let's just go through step by step here. So first of all, I have to create 2 empty arrays here. So I can just put name equal empty array here, and then age equal to empty array here. And then since it's file handling here, I can just do my typical try and accept here. So try, and then let me just put accept, and then print. Cannot find student. Let me just write error here. Error, cannot find student info.txt here. Okay, and then here, let me just read the file here. So I can just put my file is equal to open, and then student info.txt, and then read mode here. Of course, here I have to close the file as well. So as I say, this is a typical code for how file handling here. So definitely we always have to write this when it comes to file handling here. And right now, let's do the code here. So looking at the code here, basically we have like 3 lines here, and then each line, and then they have like the name and age in each line here. So for this method here, I will be showing a different method here compared to what you see in the previous question here. So right now, for the previous question, we are reading the code. We are reading the file line by line here. Right now, I will read everything into a text first. So I will just do data is equal to my file.read here. Meaning that right now, I will read all the content of the file into this variable here. And let me just show you what happened here. So let me just print data here. And let us just see what is inside this here. So shift enter here. Look at this here. We have like Tom, 16, Jess, 17, Jane 18 here. We are actually reading the whole thing into this data here. Of course, this is not what we want here. I want to store all this here into an array first, and then I can split them again. So what I could do here is that I can just read this first, and then I will split them. And what do I split them based on? I will split them based on new line here. So I can just put /n here, meaning that right now here, I will store this, I will split this based on the new line here, meaning that this Tom 16 will be the first element in the array, and then second element, and then third element in the array. So let me just click on run here, and then you will understand what I'm trying to say here. Look at this here. Right now we have like Tom, 16, the first element, Jerry, 17, the second element, and then Jane 18 as the third element here. Therefore, when it comes to exam, if you are confused or you are stuck, always just run this print here. This print is very useful here. So once I do the printing, I know exactly what is happening here. And right now, I have to store all this into an array here. So first of all, I will just run a for loop here. So I can just say for row in data here. And then I will just do some computation here, meaning that right now, I will look through all this number here, and then I have to append the value into this array here. So by right, I have to do something like name.append Tom, and then name.append Jerry, and then name.append Jane here. But how do I do that? Meaning that right now, for every single row here, or every single element here, I have to further split them based on this comma here. So I can just do the same thing again here. I can just put temp row is equal to row dot split. And then how do I split this? Is based on this comma here. Meaning that right now, for this temp row here, it will further split them into 2 elements here and store into an array here. And then let me show you what I mean here. So I can print temp row here. And then let me just shift enter here. So look at this here. So this, let me just comment this out since this is a bit confusing here. Look at this here. In the loop here, I have further split the rows here into 3 rows here. So first row here, so we have like Tom, 16 here. So this is one array here. First element, second element. First element, second element, first element, second element. And now this is easy now. So I can append the first element into name here, and the second element into age here. So I can just do something like this here. I can just say name.append, and then I can just put temp row And right now, we are appending the first element, which is this Tom here. So 0 here. And then the next one, what I could do here is that I will do h.append the second element here. So right now what happened here is that every time we do the splitting here, append Tom and append 16 here. Of course, for this question here, store the h as integer in another array called h here. Meaning that right now, I have to do the integer conversion here, which means I have to do this integer. Because right now, if I don't do that, normally this will be stored as string here, which is not what we want here. So right now, this is name.append, h.append here. And right now, I can just comment this print here. And this should work now. And finally, for demo's sake, let me just print the name and also print the age here. And we should see whether this is working as expected here. So let me just click on Shift Enter here. So look at this here. Right now we have Tom, Jerry, Jane. And then we have like 16, 17, 18 here, which is the age here. So this is how you do this question here. So first of all, let's just go through this step by step here. So first of all, we read the file here. And then I read the whole content, I read the whole file here, and then I split them based on new line here. So just imagine that we have like Tom 16, Jerry 17, Jane 18 here. Right now we store as 3 elements in this data array here. And then later on, I read the elements inside this data array row by row here. So first of all, you just do the reading here. And then right now, I will split them by comma here. So when I split them by comma, they will be stored into another array here. And inside the array, we have 2 elements here, which is the name and also the age here. And then finally, we do the append here. And also not to forget that we have to convert the string into integer here. And then we have to print this name and age here. Therefore, this is how we could use this split function here. It's actually very useful, especially for your paper 4 exam here. For the 7th function here, ask the user if they want to play easy or hard mode. The program should accept the input regardless of case. For example, it should accept easy, 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 or easy. So this is all different casing here. I'll put the mode selected by the user here. So this is pretty simple. What we do here is that we have to take an input here. And then based on the input, we can say, hey, you selected the easy mode, or hey, selected the hard mode. The only tricky part is that how do we handle the different input here? Because sometimes students, the user might type in easy, sometimes they might type in with different casing here. But now let's just write the code first. So first of all, I can just say user input is equal to input. Please input easy or hard mode. Anything, just input statement here. And then next, we can just say if user input equal to easy, print you have selected easy mode. I just put a capital here. And then let me just copy here. And then I can just say else if user selected hard mode, you have selected hard mode. And then else print you selected the wrong mode. Of course, this should work when the user type in just easy here. Let me just show you the example here. So I have to cross this first, and then let me just click on scroll to here. And let me just close this first, and then just click on Shift Enter here. So here, I can just put like easy here. So you have selected easy mode here. So this is working here. But let me just run this code again here. So what if when I put this easy here? So you selected the wrong mode here, which is not what we want here. We want to make sure that when we type in like this easy, any casing here, it should still work here. Therefore, we have to do some adjustment to the code here, which is pretty simple here. So let me just go back to my slideshow here, and let me just show you here. I can just put this here, dot, lower here. Meaning that anything that the user type in here, I will convert this into lower casing here. So if they just type like all full capital, doesn't matter here, I will convert this into like easy mode here. And then we do the same for the hard mode here. Of course, for demo's sake, I will just do some changes here. I can just put dot upper here. And then I can change this to hard here. And right now, this should work now because regardless of any input here, it should work here. So let me just cross this here, and then let me just click on Shift Enter here. And then I can just put like, I don't know, just some random casing here. look at this here. You have selected easy mode here, and then if I just go for test the hard mode here, so hard full all small letter here, you selected the hard mode here, and then shift enter here, some mixture here. You have selected hard mode here, and then definitely for testing wise, I can just put like random here. You selected the wrong mode here. Therefore, this code is actually working as expected here, meaning that you look at this here. So right now what happened here is that anything that they type here, I will convert to lower here. Anything they type here, they will convert to upper here. Therefore, for this Python function 7 here, dot lower and dot upper here is very useful when we are doing like string manipulation, especially for exam. Sometimes they say that, hey, as what I show here, they say that, hey, user can type in anything, but you want to make sure that you always do the checking here. Therefore, you can do the conversion beforehand here, dot lower and dot upper here. Therefore, make sure you remember these two functions here for your paper 4 exam here. For the last function here, generate 20 unique random numbers between 0 and 100 inclusive and store them in an array. So right now these questions want us to generate random number here. And how do you do this is pretty straightforward here. First of all, I can just put like, I create an empty array first. I can just put my array is equal to empty array here. And then since we have to generate 20 values, I can just do a for loop here. So for index in range 0, 20 here, and then colon here, and then I can just put, okay, how do you generate random value? I can just put random number is equal to random dot random in, and then 0 to 100 here. So what this does is that this will call this random function here, and then after that, I will just run this random integer here, and then I can generate any value between 0 to 100 inclusive here. And then if you look at this here, right now they say that random is not defined here, which means I have to do an import here. So I have to import random here. And right now, it's working because right now I have imported the random function here, and then I run this function here. And that's definitely, once we generate the random value here, I have to append this into the array here. So I can just put like, my array.append random number here. And then finally, if I want, I can just print my array here. And then let me just click on shift enter here. So if you look at this now, right now it's working as expected here. We have generated random value using this random function here, 0 to 100 here, and then we put the numbers into the array here, which is this one here. But of course, for this method here, there is one downside here, because for this question here, it says that we need 20 unique random numbers. But when we use this method here, we cannot guarantee, which means we cannot guarantee that all these numbers is unique, meaning that sometimes the code, it might generate 5 here on the third iteration, and then it might generate 5 again in, let's say, the last iteration here, which means I cannot guarantee that this is all unique here. Of course, looking at this here, so far, okay, look at this here, this is not unique, because look at this here, we have like 4 here, and then I have 4 again in this array here, which means that this is not unique itself here. So how do you solve this here? To solve this, we have a few methods here. First of all, I can do a checking. I can say, hey, does this 4 exist in this existing array? If it exists, then I don't do that. Or I will just regenerate random number, which is a bit complicated here. So I'm not going to cover, how to do this, in this tutorial here. So I'm going to do it here. So I'm just going to just comment everything out here. And then I can just do something like this here. I think I don't really need this as well here. We can use another built-in function here, which is the sampling function here. I can just put here my array is equal to, we have to call the random function here, random dot sample here. And then in this sample here, what it does is that it takes in 2 input arguments here. First will be the range, from one number to one number, and then next will be how many numbers, inside this array here. So I can just put range 0 to 101 here. So why 101 here? Because as I say, when we do range here, we always end at this index -1. Meaning that this is from 0 all the way to 101 minus 1, which is 100 here, which is what the question wants here, between 0 and 100 here. And of course, the next input argument will be just 20 here. So this is how we could do this. And then of course, I can just print the array again, and this should work the same here. So if I just click on shift enter here, look at this here. Right now, using this sampling function here, this is working as expected here. It should not have any duplicate values here for this array here. Therefore, in your exam, there are two ways to generate random numbers. First of all, we can use this random integer here. Remember that we always have to import this random here. Of course, as I say, if I want to generate random number and I want to store this into array, this method here, we can't guarantee that this will be unique here, which is why I show you here, there are two false in the previous array here. And of course, if you want to generate just a random number in an existing array or new array here, just use a sampling function here, random.sample here, put the range here, and put a number of elements here, and just this one-liner here, this line here, it will generate all the random values within this, this array here. Definitely just remember that for the range here, we have to put this last number plus 1 here, which is, let's say 100 here, we have to put 101 here due to this range function here. So I hope you learned something new from these 8 demo functions here. If you want to learn more about Paper 4 Python programming, watch my Cambridge A-Level Computer Science 9618 Paper 4 playlist here. And if you want the fastest and most direct way to prepare for the exam, check out my fast track program using the link in the description or the comment section below. Inside the program, I will show you exactly what to focus on, how to answer past year question, and how to avoid losing easy marks in Paper 4. Thank you, and I will see you again then. Bye bye.